Hey, evening. Are you doing that to your voice? What? I don't understand anything you're saying. You sound like a cricket or Mickey Mouse. Are you able to hear me? I don't hear any audio. Is that your mic's up? What is going on with the audio? You sound it's coming across like a squeaky mouse. Like your voice is some sort of pitch shift. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm gonna hop out of the hangout and then jump back in. Maybe it's my connection. Now I can't hear you at all. Oh, wow. I'll be right back. It sounds like a robot. Sounds like a robotic chipmunk. Do some sign language. I have no clue what you're saying. Right. Are you able to hear me? I went and checked the stream on your channel, and you sound like a chipmunk there too. So I think that's on your end.
That's what I said earlier.
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't understand anything that was coming across. I saw your lips moving, and I just started.
Okay, well, whatever it is, it's fixed.
That was hilarious.
Okay, give me a second. Now I'm getting the echo because I've got the sound thingy on, the listening back turned on.
Oh, was that me?
No, that's me. There it goes. Okay, I was getting an echo on my end because I turned it to listen to make sure I wasn't getting chipmunky through. Ugh. Yeah, it's funny, but no, it's not funny.
Late April Fool's prank.
No, it's my computer being all stupid. This laptop is falling apart on me, and I don't know what is going on because I was supposed to get Duster in last week and never showed up. So maybe somebody snatched it from in front of the house. According to Amazon, it arrived on Friday, and I'm like, oh, it didn't, and it wasn't here Monday, and it's not here today. So I was thinking maybe there was a little bit of maybe it got delayed at the post office or whatever the shipping thing is. No, apparently it was dropped off and somebody snatched it.
They show it as delivered?
Yeah, they show it as delivered, so.
Yeah, that's what happened then.
Yeah.
Someone saw a box, took it.
Yeah.
They got home and were like, a Duster?
It wouldn't say that on the thing. It would just be a package. They could open it up and
yeah.
But I mean, that's all $5 air whatever. But the other thing is they didn't steal the other package. Like, that was $50 worth of stuff, and the other one, they didn't steal that. Apparently, big boxes are. Maybe it was because the other one was a smaller box. I don't know.
It's probably drive-by grabbing. I see a lot of videos on that. So it might not necessarily be a neighbor, someone watching your perch, but just somebody driving by, saw a box, ran up and grabbed it.
I guess.
You gotta order a glitter bomb next time.
No, okay, that video was fake as hell.
Probably. I mean, man, that's a lot of package thieves in tracksuits.
Yeah.
Yeah. But good idea.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, and I mean, I generally like that guy's videos because he's because he did one about carnival games and stuff like that. So he does a very good job of creating videos, and they're scientific in nature. It's it's at least he's got a pretty good channel, although that one seems staged and overly produced. Only one of the videos that he showed looked legit. And that was when the guy opened it up, got bombed, and was just kind of just like standing there, like he's like, "What just happened?"
Was that the first one?
No, it was like it was the second or third one in the video, but he didn't say. He just stood there. He didn't say anything. He was just kind of, and then went and got a little like a dirt devil and started vacuuming it up. And that's the appropriate reaction. The other people were actively talking to the phone. Like all of them, and
also they know there's a phone in there.
They were actively talking to the package as opposed to just like, what the. Yeah, no, they were talking toward like, yeah, it's the rest of it, and I was like, also, why would you open that in the middle of in the car? You open it up, you see the package, like you open up the Amazon packaging, you see the device. Okay, that's a device. You'll open it up at home because you can't freaking use it inside your car, and yet, oh, you open it inside the car, and oh, it smells bad, and like, what moron would do this? That's like, it was a home docking station. It doesn't do you any good to open it up in the car. It's like, oh, we just got this PS4 game. Let's open it up inside the car. What for? You don't have a PlayStation that runs inside your car. What the
package grabbers are driving around the neighborhood looking for other packages. They've got a whole bunch of them shoved in the back seat.
Yeah,
or whatever their haul was for the day.
Yeah, they wouldn't open it up in the middle of the car. There's a couple of instances like, why would they open that up there?
Oh yeah, one guy opened it up in like a parking garage. Where was?
Yeah, and you're like, what?
Anyways, yeah.
So yeah, those ones seemed fake. There was also like they're playing it up like it's like, okay, I understand. There's a certain there's probably a certain mentality of the people who would do this sort of thing. But there's one video that's like, dude, I know people who would do that sort of thing. They would look at that and be like, man, that's racist. It's like, dude, those were stereotypical, like only only somebody scripting that would make, or playing it up as, you know, to as a spoof or whatever would be like that. Yeah, you know the group that I'm talking about. Yeah, I don't want to.
I'm thinking most of those package grabbers are like bored housewives.
Oh yeah, like the IRL ones, yeah.
Yep.
I don't
have nothing better to do during the day. They don't work a full-time job. They're just driving around looking for stuff because they shop on Amazon.
Right.
See how it works.
Anyway, so although the title of this stream is called Endgame Spoilers, I'm not actually going to spoil anything that actually happens in Endgame. I did see it on Sunday.
Oh, good. I was kind of worried. Should I join in?
I am going to say it lives up to the hype. It lives up to the hype. Go watch it. It is definitely worth the money. Even when I went into a theater that was absolutely crowded and everybody's talking through the whole thing and people were standing up and moving around, and despite all the distractions and, you know, and comments throughout the stuff, excellent movie. Definitely, they did an excellent job of it built up to this is the kind of like the grand finale of the MCU, and it delivers. Yeah.
That's good to hear. I've been hearing that from some other sources.
Yeah.
But
so they did an excellent job, and so we'll get to that, you know, I guess more towards the middle. Some of the other things I wanted to talk about. So one of the other big events that happened this week is Pete Buttigieg, I don't know how you pronounce his name. I'm trying not to use the Crowder because Crowder keeps calling him Buttgig, which he's got the most unfortunate name. He's a Democratic. He's a gay
is he
Democratic.
From the West Coast, like Oregon or somewhere?
I am not sure, but he's a gay Democratic mayor. And and they're pushing him as like, oh, he could be the first gay president. I'm like, but his last name has a butt in it, and he's like, come on. It's like,
well, I mean,
it's not his fault, but
the stupid thing is someone being gay and coming out of the closet or even just presenting their gay publicly is like 25 years ago. Nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares. It's not a big deal. It's not a...
It's a golf clap moment. Yay, you're so brave.
Yeah, nobody's being persecuted. Nobody's being thrown off their bridge, at least not in the U.S. Nobody's being killed for being gay. Nobody's getting their house burned down.
Protestant Christians are just throwing their hands up like, who cares?
Yeah. The only so I will say there are reports of things like this happening, people getting their house burnt down or getting vandalized because of their lifestyle, and they all turn out to be hoaxes.
Oh yeah, I heard reports of a guy getting jumped in Chicago in a winter vortex. I mean, things happen, you know, it's real life.
No, there was some lesbian activist who her house was vandalized and I think set on fire, and it turns out, oh, she's the one who did it. She set her own house on fire.
Smeared in poop.
No, oh yeah, no. So that was the one who set her own house on fire and killed her own pets.
Ooh.
Yeah, there was like 2 cats and a dog inside. She set the fire on purpose and trapped the animals inside so they couldn't escape. Yeah, yeah. Like, and you're like, and then she's trying to blame it off, like, oh, this was burned down because I'm like, no, she did it. The cops and the fire department are like, no, this was set by you. We've got proof of it. That there's materials bought by you that were used as the accelerants. All the evidence points to you being the perpetrator.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty lucrative, that victim bucks business.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is, yeah, GoFundMe campaign for the damages, and so she made a couple $1,000 off of that. I don't know if it quite broke the 6-figure mark, but yeah, she at least broke 5 figures on her campaign to help restore the house. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that could be like 10 grand, which is not worth a fire damage to a house. That could be tens of thousands.
But more, yeah, it's more than likely she's going to jail. I don't think it's gone to trial yet.
When you get to the mentality where nothing's happening, so you have to manufacture, at what point do you think they should stop and say, maybe it's not here, maybe this doesn't happen, and that's why I have to manufacture it?
And the crazy thing is, a lot of these people, where these things are actually going on, where people are getting killed and beheaded for being gay, when they're thrown off of, like, there's videos of them being thrown off of rooftops, being set on fire for being homosexual or lesbians. They say nothing about those. Like, oh no, that's fine, that's their culture. Okay, or at least I mean, there's not, well, okay, but we can't do anything about that. We're the U.S. Like,
with a completely conflicting ideology, and now they're not allowed to say, they're bound by their own rules.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's most Muslims are peaceful, especially Muslims that have migrated to Western culture and they're trying to integrate.
Yeah.
Hey, kudos, good for you. Welcome. This is Western culture is the best in the world, and the United States is the tip top, the tippy top. You know, some AOC terms, but but why can they not point that out? I think peaceful Muslims aren't advocating for the extremists and the bombings and the killings of people, just like most normal Christians aren't advocating for the radical
the Westboro Baptists
camps, you know.
Yeah, the Westboro Baptists, the cults where they marry like their 14-year-olds to the pastor.
We want nothing to do with.
Yeah, like the majority of Christian denominations, you know, groups, organizations, pastors, churches, all denounce those cultist groups and all denounce Westboro Baptists.
So when you see the actual, those activities in action, and they're still practiced, that's where it needs to be called out. That's where we need to actually take a extrospective look and say, we're looking in the wrong place. The entire United States is not Hollywood. Not everything is fabricated.
I will say one group tends not to denounce those cults, and that seems to be the Mormon Church. They actually kind of embrace the sister wives and all that sort of thing, and
I mean,
cults that are organized.
I get it. That's been a staple over there. Maybe they don't have enough guys going around. Who knows?
So that one did come to mind, but the rest of organized religion, when it comes to Christianity and Judaism, all denounce the extremist or the extremist variations that call themselves Christians.
So I mean, as a side note, just on that Mormon topic, how degrading is that if you're a wife sleeping in the room and you can hear your sister moaning the next room over because your husband is screwing your sister?
Yeah,
what kind of life is that? Gee.
It's a life that you have to be raised thinking that's the only way.
You gotta be indoctrinated hardcore to think that that's normal and you should just accept it, because, I mean, how else are you supposed to feel when that's your husband and he's screwing somebody else and it just so happens to be your sister and you're sleeping alone?
Yeah.
What? Okay, and never mind that side tangent. That just
I
don't understand it.
So yeah, we went down a huge side tangent because I wanted to talk about this Pete Buttigieg or Buttigieg or however you pronounce his last name. Sorry, he's getting him.
I think I've heard of him. I think he's from Midwest area, Like
yeah, I am not sure. He's mayor of something, but I don't know enough about him. But he's been in the news recently, not because of something he did, but because of something other people are doing. There has been a accusation made against him about sexual assault. Turns out the accusation is completely false, completely fabricated. There's no proof of anything. As far as so Pete has denied the thing. The guy making the claim removed it almost immediately, like within hours of making the claim. And then a couple of days later, a conservative gay, I think he's a Republican who's also gay, had an article written on Medium in his name accusing Pete of sexual misconduct. But the actual representative did not write this article. He doesn't own that account. So there was a Facebook account and a account created on Medium in his name, and it says real. I forget the guy's name. I gotta look this up real fast if I'm not, because I don't want to get this.
This all seems kind of strange. I mean, the gay community has been around since before we were even born, and it kind of blew up in, you know, the late 80s, early 90s. That's where all these gay pride parades started coming from. But those type of accusations haven't been really prevalent at all. In fact, gay guys are extremely choosy, and I don't mean to be like stereotypical and just box a bunch of gay people together, but they kind of invented that whole consent idea. That's where a lot of that even came from, because they're not sure who's gay or who's not, so they had to have a conversation before any physical activity even happens.
Yeah, okay, so the guy's last name is Kelly. Where's the first name? It's got to be somewhere in this article. Okay, so he's from, Pete Buttigieg is from South Bend, Indiana. So he's the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. He's running,
okay. Yeah, I knew he was from
running for Democratic president. Hunter Kelly. Well, this says he's a Michigan resident, although one of the other articles I read, so maybe there is multiple people involved in this, because this guy, one of the articles I read was saying he was some kind of a political figure, and he was not a Democrat, so he was a Republican, and I don't think this Kelly seems like the right name, although Hunter, yeah, sorry. Anyway, this Hunter Kelly person, a Facebook page was made for him that's less than a month old. The account used for the Medium article is less than a month old, and the account was real Hunter Kelly making accusations about Pete Buttigieg. Sorry, man, I'm gonna mess that up. I'm not gonna say that's name. Buttigieg.
Yeah, it's I-E-G.
Yeah. So the actual person, Kelly, says that he never made this claim. This never happened. He's not the one who wrote the article. He is, he's upset that all of this happened, that, Pete's getting his name dragged through the mud. And he's actually claiming that these two other people, where's this guy's name? Something Berkman, Jacob Wall and Jack Berkman are conservative activists who have done other stuff or whatever, but, he's claiming that they came to him.
Conservative activists.
Yeah. So Kelly is claiming that these two men came up to him and were talking about him about a possible campaign to stop Buttigieg. Buttigieg.
No.
Whatever. Buttigieg, whatever.
Making sense in real life. How many conservative activists are there? I mean, there's like no news. I don't
know, but these two guys, like, if this story has been reported multiple places, the accusation is false by both Pete's and Kelly's, or I guess maybe Kelly's last name. Really, so Hunter and Pete both deny the activity. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, if anything, this was going to come out and be obvious as soon as the individual involved is like, no, that never happened. I never wrote that. So then this seems like a false accusation against Pete, which boosts Pete's reputation. I'm like, if these guys actually wanted to take down Pete, they did it in the exact opposite way. Like,
I mean, it sounds like, so maybe they do have conservative viewpoints, but they are trying to adopt progressive or leftist attack tactics.
But it always has the opposite effect.
Exactly. I mean, pretty much all the conservatives know this is the whole reason we have Trump as president, because they've been smearing him since he even decided, hey, maybe I'll try running for president. And everyone's like, well, screw you. I mean, this is the whole Marxist idea where they're trying to show, hey, there's the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, except for they are the bourgeoisie and they don't understand it. And their mind is completely flipped, and they're representing the proletariats or whatever they want to term it now, but they are the elitists. And so every time they go to attack somebody, the rest of the general public backs away and says, that makes no sense. I'm going to do the opposite of what you say. I don't even know if everyone who voted for Trump even liked Trump. I think he just got the votes because they pushed Hillary so hardcore and bashed him, and everyone's like, nope, something's fishy here. And this seems like one of those stories.
Yeah.
And I really hope this does not become a movement on centrist.
Yeah, so I hope that this is, I hope that these guys are not actual conservatives, the two guys who are supposedly behind all this, because they're really dumb if they are.
That's what I'm leaning towards. They're just idiots. Maybe they are conservatives,
but maybe they're idiots, or
tactics are failing. Do not take those tactics, because they fail.
Yeah, they fail, and anything, if their goal was to stop this this gay Democratic candidate, they're doing the opposite of what they wanted. All of this is going to boost his poll numbers. It's going to
boosted your opposition.
And but there's the other stupid thing. So apparently these guys were claiming they were afraid of him beating Trump, and I'm like, what?
What guy?
Dude, he's like 14th out of like 19 different candidates.
Is on the Democratic side, I think their top candidate might be Kamala Harris. I don't know.
Right now it is Biden, and then followed by
not from the polls I'm seeing. Biden is an old white guy that nobody trusts. Creepy Joe.
Yeah, creepy Joe. But he's got the most donations to his campaign. He's got the highest polling as of the latest polls. Underneath him is Bernie. So it's Biden, and then Sanders, and then everybody else. And everybody else
Biden is that 15 years ago, his message was 180 degrees, the complete opposite.
Well, that doesn't matter to Democrats.
Saying, I have video clip of you saying this. Now you're different. You don't have that stance. Now you're on this platform where you're going to bash whites and say, hey, neo-Nazis at Charlottesville, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, so he's put himself in a position where people know his name.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to vote for him because he's either two-faced, coward, or he's too old and too white, and the progressives don't want him.
They may not get the choice, because once it goes to DNC, those are the two front runners. So depending on how all that pans out in the primaries, it'll probably end up being Bernie rather than Biden, but both of them are head and shoulders above everybody else who's in the running.
Yeah.
So they're at least 10 percentage points or more above anybody else.
Those being two older white guys, I can almost picture the DNC being split with the progressive extremists going for, we need to find the most identitarian person to elect. So
well, that's the other thing is there are people complaining. Yeah, there's people complaining that this Peter Buttigieg guy is not gay enough. Like, he's married to a man, but he's not gay enough because he's not actively flamboyant.
I don't understand what gay is. That doesn't
he's not, he's not dressing in drag, and he's not joining gay pride parades, and he's not walking around town in a S&M gear.
Drag is not gay. It is men dressing as women. Most drag men are actually married to women. They are not gay. They like dressing in drag. It's two separate things.
Yeah, but he's not flamboyant enough.
And a hammock, like what was that, Bruno or
yeah?
No,
No, it was Borat. He was talking about
from Kazakhstan. That stupid movie,
Borat.
Borat.
Yeah,
one of those Borat banana hammock swimsuits, and he needs to be walking around with his butt cheeks flapping, saying, "Hey, gay pride parade."
Yeah, that's what they want from a gay candidate. Yeah. They don't want a normal person who is gay. They want somebody who's flamboyantly gay, who's like so gay you can't. You're like, yeah, that guy's. He came out of the closet. Yeah, okay, sure.
Going to vote for someone.
Nobody's thought it.
Because that doesn't represent the country at all. Yeah. And would you want that guy going overseas trying diplomatic exchange with foreign diplomats from other countries? You know, walking in with some pink bell bottom.
Yeah.
Just
like dressed up like Liberace to meet Putin. Yeah, that's gonna go over well.
It works well in the entertainment industry, right? Elton John,
maybe,
right?
What?
I think Elton John's gay.
No, dude, like he's definitely gay.
Okay, I can't remember because it's like the norm now. Nobody cares. It's not for him. He wants to dress like that. He's a performer. He's on stage. It fits his performance.
Yeah,
that's how he can get knighted, and everyone's like,
yeah, but he's not there to negotiate deals with anybody. He's just there. They're just there for a meet and greet.
Deals. No one's gonna take him serious with some weird pink shaded sunglasses and a bow.
No. So the difference is, imagine Elton John going over to Russia and trying to negotiate a trade deal and be like, "Oh no, you don't."
Be assassinated by the public. Who wouldn't even need to put a hit out.
No, he wouldn't. His ability to strong arm or say, "Oh, you better not do that," or we're gonna bomb you, or we're gonna sanction you. Like, nobody's gonna take him seriously. They're gonna be like, "Okay, sure, you're really intimidating there, Elton."
That would be almost the definition of clown world, just a silly, tiny costume showing up.
Well, they want a clown world president. Yeah.
And since when is that the only definition of being gay? Most gay people are just like everybody else. It's just they choose a different, a homosexual partner versus a hetero. That's it.
Yeah.
Both are indistinguishable, and it's not
okay.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, so I do have to clarify something I said earlier. So apparently this guy was not a representative or any kind of political figure, although he was he says, is according to his bio, log cabin Republican. So he is an activist who is advocating for Trump. That's why he was approached. I was wondering, I was like, well, this guy doesn't seem to be much of anything. He's got to be some kind of. No, that just was my own misreporting there, from misunderstanding the original what I read. So he was a Republican, but not a political. Not a representative Republican, but a Republican voting and supporting a Republican Party and candidates. That's why he was approached by these guys. Okay. It's clarification on that, but the overall, just silly that somebody would think that he was a threat to Trump. I'm like, no, Trump is going to win 2020 with, like, it's going to be.
It's kind of hands down. What the whole stuff is going on is his opposition, and they can't even decide fully who they even want as their primary.
Yeah, in the primary, more than likely, it's going to be Biden or Sanders.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Bernie because Biden.
Yeah,
the DNC is going to eat him.
Yeah, Biden is not extreme enough for.
They are going to devour him because his old stances, while being Democrat back 15, 20 years ago, are now considered alt-right.
Yeah. He's going to be they're going to accuse him of being a Republican at this rate.
Idea.
Well, actually, I think they might start accusing him of being a alt-right Nazi.
Yes, that's what's going to happen. So Bernie will take it because he went and drunk with a bunch of socialists over in Russia.
Yeah. So more than likely, Bernie's going to get the nomination, and he's not going to win. He's not going to have a chance of winning. Like, no,
because. Most of the country, even most of the Democrats, do not like this garbage.
Yeah,
I'm thinking, and
they would prefer someone sensible, like someone. So I don't know if you saw Yang on Ben Shapiro, but I disagree with the man. But it's like, okay, I would accept a candidate like that. I'm like, yeah, at least that's a reasonable person for Trump to go up with.
He's trying to think through the process and how to
Yeah.
help people. He's being an intellectual rather than a
And
progressive
yeah.
radicalist. I get it. I don't agree with the UBI stuff either, but he's trying. That's all we can ask for. That's
and at least he's
just different ideas conversing.
And he's willing to sit at the table and discuss the ideas rather than shutting all opposition down, which is even as
he is kind of more the voice of the Democratic Party, like their actual base, their constituents.
Yes.
He's the guy that actually came out and said, "Hey, this is what people are concerned about."
Yeah, and based on what Yang was talking about, he's actually gone and visited these places and toured blue-collar areas and talked to the people who are actually voting. And he's like, yeah, this is what the people want. They like these kinds of ideas. I mean, it's like, I would say they don't understand that those ideas are not actually going to work. But the fact that he's going out there meeting them and telling them, they're like, he's garnering support from the working class, which is overlooked by the majority of Democrats, which was what largely led to the Hillary losing, is they ignored those sections of the population that are like.
Side note with the Yang side. So I know my 2 cents did a video a couple weeks ago, and I posted a comment, but there was a main point he missed, which is if everybody's getting $1,000 as a UBI per month,
means absolutely nothing.
He specifically stated, even on Ben Shapiro's Sunday review, or I can't remember the name of the show, that those who are already on other government assistance programs, that will be subtracted from the UBI, meaning the rich will get the full $1,000 and anybody who currently is on welfare will get pennies. It doesn't help them at all. They will stay in the same spot they are because they already get assistance. So the guy at the Ferrari will get $1,000 a month. The guy on welfare will get his welfare.
Yeah, we'll get exactly what he's getting currently. It's not in addition. So if you're getting 13,000 or 1,300 a month, you get your 1,000 that everybody else gets, and then you get 300 on top of that.
Well, in food assistance, I think the average is somewhere like $600 to $800 a month. That in and of itself is the majority of the UBI you would get. You will get practically nothing if you're already poor. It doesn't.
Yeah. So if you're getting 800 total in benefits, this will raise that up to 1,000 total. So you're getting an extra 200 a month. Whereas somebody who wasn't getting anything whatsoever, is getting extra 1,000. Yeah.
I would get $1,000 a month.
Yeah. And if you were earning, if your welfare was over $1,000, you're going to see no difference at all. So
that's fine by me. I would like $1,000 a month. However, I'm sure taxes are going to have to be raised to cover it. So I'm going to end up at net zero.
It's going to ultimately it's the same thing that welfare does, and it ends up it raises everybody up, and then everybody's at the same place. There was like it's like this guy. Like where, look, now everybody's doing 1 million damage per attack. But the boss has 100 million health. It's like, well, before you leveled all your stuff up, the boss had 100 health and everybody did 1 damage. It's the same ratio.
Same ratio. It's the same place everyone started.
Adding zeros at the end, and you're like, well, it still takes 100 attacks to kill the boss, but I'm doing 1 million damage per attack. Who cares? It still takes 100 attacks to kill him.
So maybe it's similar to an opiate or a stimulant. It's just to make people feel happy, but it actually does nothing.
Yeah, it's extra zeros at the end, but it's added to all the numbers, so it doesn't change anything.
The guy next to you, and he's got 3 more zeros than you, and then now you're back where you started.
Yeah, if everybody gets 3 zeros added to their paycheck, it's the Zimbabwe $1 billion check, and you're like, okay, that buys a loaf of bread. Congratulations on being a billionaire. It's
that was my side tangent on the Yang guy. I don't think I think he's thought it through from one perspective, but not overall. Like, you can't just hand everybody $1,000 because even the 1%ers.
Well, that's something that Ben Shapiro pointed out, and Yang kind of acknowledged it, but then brushed past it. Was people are given stuff for free now, and they still don't change their behavior. Why would giving everybody free stuff change their behavior?
What channel was I watching? There was the Red Elephant guy. I don't know if you see anything.
I am aware of him. I don't follow him regularly, but I do watch videos from them occasionally.
So he had a news article where there was this upper end apartment building, and Washington, D.C. is trying to help the homeless. So they gave homeless vouchers worth up to a certain amount, and then forced this condo or apartment to accept certain vouchers, a percentage like 20% of their living space had to be advocated to people with these vouchers. And the community is trash. There's like crap in the hallways. There's drug users everywhere.
Why would they think that would possibly change the people's behavior? They would just move there.
Giving them a nice home and a place to stay would get them off the street and they'd fix their life up. They don't understand that the majority of people are either extremely mentally ill and should have been in a mental institute, or they're drug users and can't break the habit.
Yeah.
And giving a nice place to stay means they can get high in a nice place. It's the stupidest thing, but now the actual tenants that have been living there for years are starting to move out because their property, their rent is, I mean, they're paying to live in the slums. The slums have been invited to their doorstep.
Yep. I could have seen that.
But
like, anybody could have seen that coming and said, like, this is a bad idea.
Experiments that say, hey, let's just pick the bottom up. That never works. The people at the very bottom are there for a reason, and it's not because they were born into a bad family. It's not because of their living circumstances. It's because they chose every single wrong decision to get down there.
Yeah.
There are people who are born poor, they're in a poor family, and they build themselves up to be very prosperous because they have drive, they have ingenuity, and they want to get somewhere. That does not determine your end point. The people at the bottom, the majority are there because they chose everything the wrong way and put themselves there. There are a few, and I will admit, who have hit hard times.
But they make sure that it is a temporary. Like I've said on my show, I was in that situation. I made sure I stayed there as little amount of time as possible, and I climbed my way back out. I was not going to stay there for the rest of my life.
First in 2008, 2009, lost my job. My house was foreclosed, pretty much homeless. So I had to go stay with our parents for 2 months. But then I got a job, back on my feet.
Yeah.
I'm not staying like that. So even temporary people that are industrious and will work and do something with their lives, they don't stay there. So the homeless.
Yeah, somebody who's been homeless for more than 6 months, that's a lifestyle choice. I mean, I know most people are like, oh, but they don't have a choice. And like, no, if you're still there after 6 months, that means you're not doing what you need to do to get out of it. There's a lot of people who had drug problems and ended up being homeless for more than 6 months, and then cleaned up their act, and then like, well, now they're homeless for too long. Then it's less of a choice for them. Like, so like there was that story of the one guy who was interviewed by a local reporter for some reason, and he had like this really deep, like radio style voice. Ended up getting a job. Yeah. But he said on that interview, I ruined my life. I had an awesome opportunity and I threw it all away for drugs. I'm clean now, and I'm just looking for a way to get out of this mess. And that's what I mean. That's one of those great stories that, you know, is kind of inspiring. Is like, but it wasn't until he cleaned himself up, until he got off of drugs, until he kicked himself and got himself into like, okay, now I'm in a situation where I can actually make something of myself. Somebody in that situation just needs needs a little help, a little boost to get out of their rut, because the motivation is there. They've shown that they can overcome, and they're looking to get out of the hole. People who are constantly digging down, or you try to help them and they just use that to stay where they are, there's nothing you can do for them.
Multiple times, the guy walking down the road with a gas can. Hey, I just need $5. My car's broke down. My kids are sitting there. I don't even know how many times I've said, hey man, here's $5. I hope you can get some gas, get your kids. I see him walking down the street with a beer later, still holding the same gas can.
Yep.
Screw that guy.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, other people can have their own perspective on this, but this is my personal perspective. Somebody comes up to me and asks for money, I give them money, even if they're lying to me. There's so many stories where I'm like, yeah, this guy's full of it. I can smell the alcohol in his breath. I know he's going to use it, but he came up to me and asked me. If he is lying to me, that's on him. But I don't want to be the guy in the others, you know, I don't want to be the guy who says no to someone who's in desperate need, because I know I was on the other end asking. I was on the other end relying on the kindness of strangers, And I've never drank in my life. I've never done drugs. I was down and out. I was, you know, trying to scrounge up money to pay for a place to stay so that I wasn't actually sleeping on the street. I mean, or sleeping in my car. At least I had a car. That's more than most people could say. But I was relying on the kindness of strangers to make ends meet, so that way I could get my job and you know, get out of my rut. And if one of those had said, "Oh, you're full of it, you're lying," I don't know where I would be. So I don't want to ever be the guy who's like, you know what? They're just gonna, if you give him money, he's just gonna keep begging it. I don't want to be. Now, if the other guy is lying, that's on them. That's not on me. That's the situation I want. Like, if he's lying to me and he took advantage of me, oh well, that's his fault. He'll, you know, he's got to make good with God on that. That's not my fault. But you know, if I gave him money, he goes out and buys drugs or whatever. That's not on me. That's between him and God. All right. I don't want to get too far down there in that situation. Or talking about that particular subject. Think I've beat that or talked about that too much on this stream or these streams.
Horse, you went, dug up the bones, and you continued beating. Okay.
Yeah. That's what was the other thing that I was going to talk about?
Before the Avengers?
Yeah, there was one other subject that I meant to bring up.
Recent?
Oh, Crowder. So Steven Crowder is I just saw a video where he released a couple hours, you know, something after work. Yeah, so after I'd already, right. Yeah. So Steven Crowder got 3 strikes on his channel, like hard strikes that would, and usually after 3 strikes on a channel, you get it removed from YouTube. That's the rules. He was able to work with YouTube and get that situation somewhat resolved. He has to remove the video, and then he also has to remove another, like a full stream that used portions of that video. And he's still going to get 1 hard strike on his channel. And he still has to appeal to try to get, because it's a bogus copyright claim. So he had a parody video called Dr. Trump. It's a parody of Kiss's Dr. Love, except so they're all kind of dressed. It's parody, so they're mimicking Kiss. None of them is the actual member. Like they're all similar but not the same. And they're singing, a version that sounds like Dr. Love, but instead they're saying Dr. Trump. And he's pointed out that all of the music was original. It's not taken from some other source. It was generated by them. There's individual tracks. They layered it together. They put the whole thing together. I mean, granted, they're not musicians, so they're not actually playing the instruments, but it is an original composition that sounds like the Kiss version.
Yeah.
So by all measures, this fits. Like, if this was illegal and a copyright violation, Weird Al should be in jail, because that's exactly the format Weird Al uses when he makes his music videos. He makes the music that sounds almost exactly like the original, but it's performed and it's their own version of that song, and then he changes the lyrics and he dresses up like the characters.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that is a quintessential parody. They did all of the things that, like, they went over and above for sake of a parody, or, like, hey, there's no way this could be considered copyright, and it still got false copyright strike. And YouTube is holding their feet to the fire on this, which is, yeah, YouTube is, a BS platform anyway. But this is something, and he mentioned this in the video, and I was like, yeah, that's the sad part. And I'm glad he mentioned this, but it's one of those things that's not getting enough attention. Is he's able to overcome this because he's got a large audience and he's got lawyers that have gone up against YouTube before.
Yeah, half Asian.
Yeah, Bill Richland. Awesome. That dude is probably the funniest guy on the show. He's not even
he's just deadpan.
Dude, yeah, his stuff is awesome. But smaller content creators get these kinds of strikes all the time and can't do anything about it.
Yeah, he said half his budget goes to just lawyer fees.
Yeah. like the Quartering just got a not a copyright strike. He got an entire video claimed by Coolio because he did a video about. Oh, this is something I'm going to talk about too. Oh, have you seen the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer?
I saw a poster and I decided not to look into it.
Dude,
it looked creepy and
dude, it is so bad. It is.
Yeah, I saw a poster. I think he's sitting on the Golden Gate Bridge with his feet out, and I was like, "That looks kind of disgusting."
That looks yeah. The trailer for it is so much worse. It seemed like you saw that Game Informer article about they're trying to kill Sonic the Hedgehog. I think that is the sole purpose of this movie. Is they're actually like, okay, how can we possibly make this franchise finally die? Well, if we make this terrible movie that is the worst abomination.
Nobody asked for it. Sonic's not even a mainstream mascot anymore. That was like 15 years ago. Why would anybody say, let's dig this up?
Oh, I don't know.
Kind of bleh. That's not like a fond childhood memory. It's just a bleh.
It's just there. Oh, but no, and this is the worst possible take on Sonic the Hedgehog.
No one wants a realistic version. I mean, it's like his muscles.
Yeah, well, why nobody wants it? Like, if you're gonna do Sonic the Hedgehog, don't bring him to the Earth. Don't bring him to the real world. Why is this a thing in Hollywood? Hey, there's a character with its own backstory and its own world to go explore and visit. Let's bring him to boring Earth. I'm like,
maybe why? If they did more like
why did they do this?
Like a weird sci-fi universe, and animals are getting put into robot shells, like the game is.
Yeah,
fine.
That's
could be acceptable depending on how it looks, but there's no reason to have a Sonic the Hedgehog CG guy in San Francisco.
No,
that's not even part of the games, the lore, the anything ever. Period.
It doesn't make any sense to bring him to the real world. It makes everything look stupid. Like
it's just a cash grab. Transformers pulled in a crap ton of money. Even the Ninja Turtles, they looked kind of weird trying to put them in live action, but the movies were enjoyable and they made a ton of money.
Yeah, but the thing about Transformers and Ninja Turtles is that's their story. Is they are set in the real world. For both of them, Ninja Turtles are set in New York, and then Transformers come and visit Earth. Yeah, that's their story. That's been the story of the original. But
they're coming out with a Pokemon movie that actually looks kind of entertaining.
Okay, so Detective Pikachu
got shrunk into a little yellow furball.
Yeah, Detective Pikachu. That's how it's done right, because they are in the Pokemon world.
Yeah, it's not Earth. It's just some completely different setting.
There are areas that resemble places on Earth, because if you look at the games, the cities in the games are modeled after Earth City. But it's capital city. It's not New York. It's a I guess an homage or something like that. But it's different enough where it makes sense. This is the way it's always been. It's not the hey, let's introduce Pokemon into New York City and imagine the chaos. It's like that story trope so overdone and so bad. I can't stand that. Okay, there are examples where it is done right, but it is done not so much as the fish out of water type story, because that's the overplayed trope. There are examples where somebody comes and visits Earth, but then everything becomes the new normal. Like there was a web series that I saw that was actually it's kind of older. It's called The Wizard of Oz, where it's kind of like it's a comedy series, but it's kind of so he comes from a D&D style world where but he's kind of bored of that and stupid, and he leaves there, because he's a wizard and he can teleport, and he teleports to Earth. And he's trying to live a normal life in Australia. But along with him being in Australia, there's also people from that world that are coming to Australia. And I was like, okay, so it's not just him being alone, and it's a merger of two worlds, which is interesting.
Yeah,
it's not.
there's a ton of animes like that.
Yeah, there's a ton of animes where it's a merger of two worlds, that's perfectly fine. But oh, hey, look at, oh, I'm in Earth for the first time. Okay.
Like Thor 1?
Like, what? Yeah, Thor 1, Thor 1 was pretty boring.
Yes. And 2 was even more boring. I don't know how it's possible, but it was. I just watched them because I did like Thor as a character. He's one of my favorites growing up.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, but the Sonic was terrible, but yeah, that was one of the other things I wanted to mention was just I watched the trailer and it's just no, it's so it fails on every front. Not only is it like bashing Sonic fans in the face with like, hey, all the things that you like about Sonic, we're just gonna outright destroy. But it's also just like, who is this supposed to appeal to? Because even regular moviegoers are gonna be like, man, this is a terrible movie. I'm not gonna send I don't want my kids to watch that.
People like the game because he moved fast, and it had a lot of fast motion with the levels and the parallax and stuff that was kind of new around the 16-bit generation of systems. So it was a fun, fast game, and he made a good mascot back then. But that's all people liked about it. The cartoon was just meh.
Yeah,
I mean, what kind of voice that was, or the antics he got into. It was just your average Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, so a Sonic could succeed as a CGI movie, like cartoon thing with its own.
Yeah, if they model it after the games, like the 3D games they've come out with, and just kept it.
It could succeed. It could do pretty well with in theaters. I mean, it wouldn't compare to like Endgame or Frozen or anything like that, but it could make money. This thing is going to lose money for Paramount, and it is. I don't know what is going on over there. This is
because kids aren't going to want to see it. They don't know who Sonic is, and everyone who does know who Sonic is
going to be like, everybody's going to be So this was one of the
mated with a
boy. So the best part about the trailer is the comments underneath, and one of the ones I like was looks like the CGI artist modeled Sonic after Uganda Knuckles.
Yeah. I mean, that would be only to see it as if they did include.
Yeah, like, oh, okay, that's why that makes it like it's like it's intentionally bad.
2-second clip. I don't know, man. These companies are getting so desperate for cash that they're ruining franchises.
Okay, so I think we'll take that to piggyback into the main topic. Yeah, that is an excellent segue.
Here, hold on one second. I need to check a window. A thunderstorm over here.
Okay, I'm gonna check the chat. Nobody in the chat. All right. Yeah, I'm guessing the people who are the ANCAPs that kind of come in here every once in a while, I think I might have pissed them off because I was like, because I was bringing up reasons.
All set.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So this is a disturbing trend when it comes to franchises, and this is what I was. So this is not a spoiler for Endgame, but this is what I think is going to happen with the MCU. Because Brie Larson is going to be the new center for whatever they come up with after Phase 3.
Replacement.
What?
She's Captain America's replacement, like the team lead. In charge.
Yeah. So this is the end of Phase 3. That's the end game. It's the end of the original Avengers arc. So they're starting something new, and this is something that they've said in interviews is like, they're passing off the torch to Captain Marvel as the new lead of the group that comes out. Whatever goes on from this stage, she's going to be the new central piece of it. And there is also reports that Brie Larson is going to be directing an all-female cast movie for whatever reason, because that's what movies need. They need an all-female superhero movie.
What would be in that, as far as current MCU or maybe even new characters? I mean,
so
I haven't seen a movie, so I don't know who survives. I'm sure some characters have to die off in order to transition elsewhere, but
yeah,
they've got Black Widow and Wanda, or what's her name?
Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch.
And then Captain Marvel, and
then maybe some of the people from Wakanda.
Black Panther, yeah, the Wakanda. But
I mean, the one lady can fight pretty good.
There's
how would you do an all-female cast?
I don't know. That's the they're going to have to introduce new characters and stuff like that.
But even from the first Avenger, it wasn't like it's an all-male cast, and it never has been. They've had their solo movies. So obviously, if you're a guy and it's a solo movie, you're the lead, and there's not a female lead. But there have been females in it, like Pepper Potts or his girlfriend. What I can't remember her name.
Jane
Foster.
Jane Foster. Yeah.
So there have been females in it, but when they all get together for a compilation, it's just been mixed.
Yeah, and sadly, one character that got
ethnicity or even age or even planetary stuff, homage words from somewhere else. It's never been about that.
Well, one character that got dropped from the MCU that no one seems to remember is Lady Sif. She was in Thor 1 and Thor 2, like a little bit, but she just kind of disappeared completely, and nobody's like, oh, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm like, in the comic books, she is a pretty important character and ends up marrying Thor. That's because that goes along with the mythology of Lady Sif being married to Thor.
Well, that I kind of liked. Not her part, but in Thor Ragnarok, where it was the three buddies, but it was like an anticlimactic death. I don't know what it is about that, but since they weren't mainstay characters, but you still had a little bit of attachment, it kind of stinks seeing them die, but it also meant there is some finality within the MCU. It's not just all hunky-dory, everybody's happy.
But Lady Sif didn't die. She just disappeared.
I don't know if she is.
They never brought her up. There's no.
Okay, so she could be in a part of the all-female movie. I'm sure they would bring her back. What's her name? Monahan? Is that the lady?
I don't know the name, but she's been on other TV shows and stuff.
She was on the Mission Impossible. Ethan Hunt's.
Yeah. Oh no, that's not the same lady.
Really?
She's on the NBC show Blindside. I don't know what else she's been on since then.
Like the same face. I thought.
Yeah, they've got a very similar look, but it's a different lady.
Regardless,
I don't know the name, but
they could probably bring her back and make her.
They could.
Girl and the Valkyrie girl.
Yeah.
What's her name from Thor Ragnarok?
Yeah.
It didn't work for Ocean's 8. Nobody's clamoring to say we want to see an all-female cast. We just want to see an all-hero cast, and we don't care who they are.
Yeah,
the actual. Well,
that's the crazy thing is, so Guardians of the Galaxy has a raccoon and a tree, and nobody's clamoring. It's like, oh, like so
exist.
Yeah, like what kind of I don't like. Groot is like an international phenomenon, and nobody's like, oh, well, I can't relate to Groot because I'm not a tree person. I'm like, who's making these claims? And yet, for some reason, people are making claims like, oh, I don't see somebody that represents me on screen, so I don't have anybody to cheer for. I'm like, there's a freaking raccoon and a tree.
Nobody
and whatever.
When did this become a thing? So growing up, I never remember watching a Saturday morning cartoon and saying, I don't see a character that looks like me. I don't remember playing Ninja Gaiden and thinking, I'm not a ninja. There's no one in this game that looks like me. I didn't play Ninja Turtles or The Simpsons and say, these characters all have weird round heads and they're yellow. They don't look like me. When did this become a thing where my subjective projection of myself must be included in everything or I'm not happy?
Yeah.
Take it for what it is. It's superheroes, it's cartoons, it's video games, it's ninja, it's samurai, it's outer space, it's a lovey-dovey rom-com. It's whatever it is. You're not in it, you're just watching. Enjoy the show. When did
I don't know. So, but that seems to be the direction Marvel is going.
They're shooting themselves in the foot. And two examples that they've had in the last 3 years. How can they repeat this?
I don't know, but for some reason, so they've already seen declines in sales in their comic book division, and some of their executives on the comic book division at Marvel have come out and talked about this and how it's killing their industry. All this forced diversity, and so it's one thing to introduce a new cast of characters and make them all female and whatever, make them SJWs. It's a completely other thing where they start taking existing franchises and they do gender swaps and they do race swaps and they change out these characters, and it's not because of some, like, there's some significant reason to do these sorts of things.
Oh,
but just because they want that more diversity. And you're like,
okay. Have you seen that Spider-Man CG movie?
I have not seen it, but
watch that.
Yeah, that's apparently really good.
Black kid as a Spider-Man. He's like an alternate.
Yeah, Miles Morales. Yeah,
that movie was good because it didn't hone in on the fact he's a young black kid. It was just fun, exciting, great soundtrack, good-looking visuals, and it had a diverse cast, but that was not the point.
Yeah, it's one thing to have it, like, so if you look back at the original X-Men, huge diverse cast, like, a whole bunch of different male and female mixed, a bunch of different races represented.
Like one of the most awesome characters, black woman from Africa.
Yeah, but it wasn't like, so it was there, but it wasn't the entire focus of it. The entire focus was the story of these.
Focused on she controls the weather and what her powers can do, what she can do for the team.
And there was conflict between team members, and it wasn't because, oh, you're white and I'm black. No, it's because you're a dick. Mostly it's like Gambit's always trying to make the moves on one of the female characters, and so
and everyone agitated towards Wolverine because he's just a dick to everybody except for Jean.
Well, yeah, and then Scott's married to Jean, and Wolverine is still trying to make moves on her, and you're like, yeah, dude, yeah, there's conflict.
Dynamic interplay between the characters, and it has nothing to do with race or even gender for that matter.
Yeah, and then sometime, like, there was that one episode, like, that's like one of my favorite episodes from the cartoon, is when they went to Sinister's Island, and all of their superpowers are gone, except for Wolverine still has his adamantium claws, and doesn't have a healing factor, but he still has all of his regular natural abilities and those claws, and he ends up saving. Like, those kinds of dynamics is like, at what point did race come into that? Oh, it didn't come into play in the entire episode. At what point did
I do remember that. They had that pterodactyl guy in it.
Yeah, the pterodactyl guy. Yeah, it was just Wolverine being Wolverine and helping save the team and getting them, and then restoring their powers, which is a huge, like, so they're no longer bound by the rules of the island where they can't use their mutations, and then they win and save the day. Yeah, it's like those are the kinds of stories. At no point was it like, it wasn't focused on their race and gender. Those things were a part of them, but they weren't the only things about them. That's what made that show and those characters in the comic book series excellent. That's
the odd thing. Like with the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse or whatever, it was obvious. Yeah, that's not the Spider-Man we're all used to, and it's a young black kid from Harlem or Brooklyn or somewhere, New York. But there was like zero contention, zero issues with him being a version of Spider-Man. When you're watching the video, you don't ever get the impression they're preaching anything to you or forcing it. It's just, I like this kid. And if he gets spider powers, cool. I mean, he becomes just what you would expect of a Spider-Man. He becomes a bit altruistic, wants to help, and it's the idea of what Spider-Man is, and it fits perfect. They even have like some weird anime Japanese robot suit version of Spider-Man. it just encompasses everything, and yet none of the focus is on if they're a woman or if they're a man or if they're black or white. None of that matters. When did this become important? Because I remember growing up in the late 80s, we were getting out of that. That was like the tail end of, the civil rights movement was during the 80s. It all finally just kind of weeded out in the 90s. Black culture was full blown with like NWA and MC Hammer and Will Smith in his early acting career.
Prince, yeah.
No,
that was the thing.
Or black or white or Asian, it didn't matter at all. Was it funny? Was it entertaining? Was it engaging? Yeah. Nobody cared if you're man or woman. Women can hold their own shows. Men can hold their own shows. When did things become so divisive and separate? And now we have to point specifically to gender and race and ethnicity and age and what.
I'm not sure, but it seems like Marvel's video division or their movie division did not learn from the mistakes that their comic book division is suffering right now.
Or from Star Wars, because they
Star Wars is the same thing. Yeah,
billions.
Yeah,
not a couple of dollars, billions. They purchased that for what, $2 billion or?
And it has not paid off.
It hasn't paid off, and now they have ruined the franchise. And J.J. Abrams is going to try and pick it up with Episode 9. But the majority of the Star Wars fans are extremely jaded. They thought J.J. Abrams' first outing was acceptable and looked like a.
And then everything since then has been.
It looked kind of like a copy. But hey, let's see where it goes from here. And then, bam, Ryan's version threw everything down the crapper and said, "Hey."
And it wasn't just that. So there's also Rogue One, and then Solo, and then Episode 8. All of those together.
Elements because it tied back into the first episode.
But
4.
It's
still they had stupid stuff where they're like the blind monk walking around who doesn't even know about the Force and he's just dodging bullets. Who came up with that idea?
It's a Jedi that's not a Jedi, and you're like,
he doesn't even know he's a Jedi.
You're in a universe where there are Jedis. Just make him a Jedi
everywhere, and his own guys, and they're just shooting around him, and he's just wondering what's going on. And that was a stupid role for him, that Donnie Chen guy.
Yeah, I know.
One of fantastic movies like Ip Man.
Yeah. And, well, he was Once Upon a Time in China was him, right? Or is that wasn't Jet Li? He was in one of them. I don't know, because there's a Jet Li Once Upon a Time in China, and then there's a Donnie Chen Once Upon a Time in China, or it might be a slightly different name, but yeah. Anyway.
I've seen him in a ton of martial arts movies.
Okay, so it might not have been Once Upon a Time in China. They were playing the same character, that Wong Fei Hung, the guy who's got the umbrella. Yeah, so Jet Li is playing.
Wong Fei Hung is like a mystical. Yeah. He's a historical.
Yeah, he's like a legend in China. Yeah.
Yeah.
So both Jet Li and Donnie Chen have played him in various movies, but
I like him. He's a good actor. I like his martial arts movements. He's not one of those slow guys, the Chuck Norris or Steven Seagal looking guys that he can keep pretty much on par with, like Jet Li or Jackie Chan.
Mm-hmm.
And they just put him in a stupid role of like being this mystic monk who doesn't know what the Force is and his comedic relief.
Well, and then there's another thing about the movie
that's what they're there for.
Yeah, it was one of those things. As I was watching, I was kind of like, "There's something odd about this," and somebody pointed out after. I was like, "Wait a minute, why is there a guy with a machine gun who is mowing down enemies? This is the future. Everybody else has a single shot blaster. Nobody else thought to create a machine gun."
Dude's got like an almost infinite.
I guess maybe it's not the future. This is a long time ago. But how was he the first person to think, "Oh, a rapid fire laser gun would be amazing"?
Lasers within a second.
No, everybody's still got these pew 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 pew.
I would give a pass because
it was
important, but it still does tie in nicely, and it leads up to the second.
It was more like a fan-made movie with a bigger budget. But
the only reason I enjoyed it is because the very end, when it tied and it meant like 2 seconds up to episode 4, is like, okay, I see the tie-in now. I'll give it a pass. But there were
but overall, that movie didn't do well in theaters compared to exist. It wasn't necessary, and it did
ruined Han Solo.
Yeah.
Why?
And did terrible at the box office, and then
doesn't matter. His motives and incentives don't matter. Where he got his gun from was stupid, and the characters he acted with. The only good thing out of that movie is the fact he met Chewbacca, and that was a stupid way to meet. What? How?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
nobody even asked for that movie at all. The one good thing I did like is Donald Glover. He just has some charisma. Yeah. He can play a young Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, good choice. Yeah,
he had a iffy role in there because Lando just kind of said, "Oh, lost my ship," even though it's supposed to be the fastest ship in the universe. Whatever, right? But he had the charisma to land that part, so I liked him.
Yeah,
I thought the character who played young Han Solo could have pulled it off in some areas, but his storyline blew so bad, there's no way to redeem it. He just came off as a nitwit that landed in scenarios out of the blue. Just all this crap fell in his lap, and he's like, "Well, I'll go along with it." And it didn't anywhere even close to Harrison Ford's Han Solo. Didn't even.
Yeah, because although Harrison Ford's Han Solo did have like, he was kind of just lucked into being a part of the Star Wars universe, he still had.
But Harrison Ford had a ton of charisma, and he had this personality that he's been there and done it.
Yeah, he had that been there and done that. He also like he understood things that you would expect a smuggler to do, which is how they got into, once they got into the Death Star, the ship looked abandoned, and so they're searching for him because they're hiding in this, the storage.
Yeah, this guy's getting an argument with a snake lady about a rock. Why?
And like, but you're a smuggler.
Like, oh, that's not a thermal detonator. That's a rock. What? This the whole scene. Why is there a snake lady that's a vampire? Why did his name? Why did he even have to tell where his last name came from? Why can't it just be?
Yeah, that's so bad.
I would. Whatever writer put that in, I would like to punch him right in the face and say his name was just Han Solo. He was born Han Solo. His parents' last name was Solo. Leave it at that. Nobody asked.
Yeah, you don't need to. Don't need it.
How many other Solos are there in the universe?
You would think they would have learned from all of the complaints about the Phantom Menace and all that sort of thing, because there was those kinds of moments where you're like, okay, well, I didn't need to know that C-3PO was made by Anakin Skywalker. That's kind of
the original 3 Star Wars, which were just, those are kind of the golden era of sci-fi and fantasy. They built up what future sci-fi could be, especially in Western culture after. They are mainstays in the sci-fi universe. Yeah, there's flaws. There's some issues. Some people don't like the Ewoks. Some people think they're silly. I think they're fine in there, and they did play their part. I love the original 3.
Yeah, I thought the Ewoks were fine until I learned that they were intended to all be Chewbacca's, and I'm like, could have had Chewbacca.
See? I never even heard of that, and without that knowledge, they're fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, then we get to
the other thing about that is they were apparently cannibals, and they have this big feast at the end.
Kept the storyline and built on it, which is why Episode 3, when you see him actually transform into Darth Vader, you're excited, even though it's a little cringy.
Yeah,
it still ties a story together. They kept the story there, but they added a bunch of elements and extra comedy with Jar Jar. That was,
but there were elements in the Phantom Menace where you're like, oh, that's how that got there. We didn't need that. We didn't need to see young Guido.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of, we didn't need to worry about the Hutts back then. We
didn't
worry about Anakin. Yeah, cute kid, but
we didn't need to see the origins of this. Like, oh, that's where that came from. No, we didn't need that.
That got panned quite a bit when that first came out. People said the CG looked very plastic. I mean, it looked good, but it didn't look real. And the storyline and the acting was horrible. I mean, there's sand and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
I hate it. That's worse than Saturday soap operas. I don't know what he intended in that. However, as much as the 3 were hated, as soon as the 2 new ones came out, everyone's like hugging onto them like, please, at least go back to
yeah, let us back in there. We're sorry for complaining about the prequels. We're sorry.
Yeah, everyone that hated the prequels is now like running back and hugging him like, please, just bring this back. I don't even care about Jar Jar.
At least you know.
Skywalker just threw this lightsaber over his back and said, meh. Why? He's building his family and he saves the universe, and now he's some old guy squirting green milk out of a weird seal booby, and I mean, that was just gross. No,
What's the point
for that?
Why? Yeah.
There wasn't even like alien life forms. That's just And it's so dripping down his beard like an old nasty hobo. Ugh. Nobody asked for that.
So one of the things that has been a trend that has been seeping into a lot of things. So it's not just the MCU and it's not just Star Wars, but it seems to be like people are a fan of these franchises, like the originals. They're big fans of them. And like, yeah, they were great, but rather than continuing and improving on what made them great, they instead say, well, they were great, but they needed more of this to feel more inclusive, or they didn't quite support women the right way, or they didn't support this minority group the right way. So if only we had changed that about them, they'd be better films all around. And that's what they've kind of done, is like, rather than make something new that does adhere to their worldview, they take those nostalgia things and infuse their worldview into it. And that's where these problems occur, because that's what we're seeing more and more in the MCU as it goes beyond phase 3. It's these infusing of social justice warrior values into existing franchises.
And I understand that, but they have such a narrow view, like horse with blinders, a horse-drawn carriage. Because even when you look at the original 3 Star Wars, you got Chewbacca, who is a fan favorite. That's not any species that's human.
Yeah.
Leia, a huge fan favorite, very dominant, very confident, very capable woman. Yeah, she becomes enslaved and in the bikini thing, and then she kills her captor.
Yeah, she kills. Yeah, like that was the best part of the escape. Is like, yeah, sure, Luke is being a badass and saving everybody.
Guy who runs Cloud City gave him the ship, helping him out. Fan favorite.
Yeah.
So we got mixed races, we got mixed genders, we got other species that aren't even human, and they're all fan favorites. Even the droids, they're not even people. Yeah. This was encompassing back in the late 70s. Was 79, I think, when it came out. There was no supremacy or non-inclusion anywhere in that movie. Or that movie series.
Yeah.
And even in the prequels. It's just one of the most capable lightsaber or Jedi masters was supposed to be Sam Jackson. He died like a bitch.
Yeah.
Why? That is kind of infuriating, because he could have been such a badass character.
Yeah.
But this was already inclusive. Nobody even thought about it. It was just there. Nobody thought, maybe Lando should be a black guy because we got too many white guys. He was Lando. That was him. I can't picture anybody else in that role because he did awesome. And nobody thought, that's weird, black guy in this weird universe. When did they become so focused and isolated on saying we need to have every single type of minority? Because what happens 2 weeks from now when a new minority group pops up? And then 4 months from now, another minority.
Well, that's the other thing is,
what happens when white Christians become a minority? Are they all of a sudden protected? I doubt it. But do they get a minority status at some point?
But that was something, I think it was in one of the quartering videos when he's talking about Endgame, because there's apparently controversy about not enough LGBTQ representation in MCU. And he was like, well, what about representation for albinos? There's no albinos in the MCU right now. Where's the representation for handicapped characters? There's no handicapped superheroes. What's going on there?
Superhero. I didn't see one single handicapped superhero.
Yeah.
Where's Down syndrome person?
Or is the SP, or the politically correct term, the differently abled or something? But
yes, PC.
Yeah. But so we've seen this, and this is, and it always hurts them on the bottom line when they do these sorts of things. To be
representative. Superman is not a typical, just your average white guy. He's from another planet.
Yeah.
Has X-ray vision, has laser vision, has cold breath, can fly around the earth and spin it in the opposite direction. He can punch through the core if he felt like it. That's not really something that's representative. Even the buffest Arnold Schwarzenegger would have his jaw drop and say, "What is that?"
Yeah.
That's not representative of anybody. It's an idealistic version of a savior or someone that can thwart off evil. It's it. there's not supposed to be representation because that's a stupid movie. If I see myself doing my own dumb stuff in a movie, I'm like, why did I pay to see this? I do this.
Yeah, I live this.
I want to see something cool. I want to see something funny or something romantic or something scary. I don't need me, somebody else.
Yeah, something out of the ordinary, something you don't see every day, or something that is, something that's outside of what we would consider our reality or our expected norms. It's an escape from what we have right now. That's what movies are supposed to do, and yet these people are trying to it doesn't match reality more. We need to match it. I'm like, that it's a escape from reality, and you're trying to make it more like reality. And that's one of the things is even Scarlett Johansson and she was going to try to play a trans character in a movie, but she's not trans in real life, so they wouldn't let her, and she got so much backlash she had to back out of the project, and now the project's not going to happen at all.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Because she's not trans, and they needed a trans actor to play a role of a trans person.
I mean, I guess they forgot what an actor is, because an actor means not who they are. They're acting in a different role.
Yeah, and that's exactly this type of thing. It's like, this is a fantasy. This is a recreation. That's what movies are. It's taking what we have and turning it into something else. It's not an accurate representation. It's not a documentary. It's not
exaggeration.
Yes, it is an exaggeration. It's supposed to be. Yeah.
Slightly based in reality, but expands upon that. And to make it believable, you want the best actors to fill that role, so it's convincing. Because when it's not convincing, you don't follow the movie. It's boring. No one watches it.
Yeah, and no one, at least I don't remember anybody complaining in the 80s when Eddie Murphy put on face paint and played a Jewish character. It's like, oh, that's taking roles away from Jewish people. No, like
that because he was convincing. If you didn't know it wasn't Eddie Murphy, you would just think that's some old grumpy Jewish guy playing chess.
Yeah, and then you find out it's Eddie Murphy, and you're like, holy crap, that guy is talented. I didn't even know. Like, and there's a lot of actors who have done that in movies where they blend, like, they play minor characters that you don't realize they were playing. Like, that
whole movie was, I think he nailed every character. The whole sexual chocolate guy. Arsenio Hall was like dressed as that woman trying to hit on him at the bar. That was a good movie.
Yeah. Those were the norms, but we can't do that nowadays because people would be such an outrage if that sort of thing happened. Like, people would be throwing a fit, like, oh, how dare this person play something other than what they are? And I'm like, that's what movies, that's what they've always been. Somebody playing something they aren't. That's what actors do. And it's because that helps us facilitate an escape from what is into something different. Even when it is a historical piece or something that is a biography or something, they use artistic license to make it different from the reality. It's a fictionalized version of that. It's a what's it called? It's exaggerated, and it's kind of whitewashed for a lot of these stories about people's pasts. Like, there's biopics about certain characters. Oftentimes, the huge pronounced character flaws that they had in real life are downplayed because for the more significant things that they did in their life, those things are boosted to the forefront. And the things that made them lesser people in real life, like the people who knew them well, were like, oh, that guy's, yeah, sure, he's famous, but he's also kind of a dick and all. Those sort of things, they may get displayed in these movies, but they get downplayed and overshadowed by the significant accomplishments that the people made. Because real life doesn't live up to that hype. Real life, yeah, that person was mostly a dick and is kind of not someone that should be looked up to. But when
you might not have liked them.
Yeah, if you knew them in real life or if you interact with them, you're like, oh, well, this guy's he's a real person. That's why they, like, there's that phrase, never meet your heroes. Because, and most of the time, they don't live up to the hype of your expectations of them. They will let you down because they're not superheroes. They're not fictionalized characters. They're real people. Then you have to accept that. That means all of those flaws that get downplayed in your fantasy version, you have to understand and embrace. And that takes away the mysticism. That takes away that escapism about the fantasy version. And actually, that kind of ties into something I've been talking about the last couple of weeks about your perception of people, and that it's the when somebody meets your perception, it's usually less than what you think about them. So it's one. So I guess there's two sides of this. Is you don't want people to think so much of you that you can't live up to any of it, and then so yeah, I guess let's see, how do I phrase this? So there's the people are always going to think highly of people that are famous or important or celebrity status and all that sort of thing, and the real version of that person is not going to match the expectations of the high version of themselves.
So kind
of there's also what
the halo effect.
Yeah, the halo effect. But there's also you don't want to present yourself as something that you absolutely aren't. Like, you don't want their entire view of you to be nothing but a lie. Because there's a lot of people who are a celebrity and people like them and people have this high view of them, but then they'll do stuff and you're like, well, okay, they don't live up to the hype, but at least they're not completely full of it. Like, there's celebrities who end up giving a lot away to charity, who so one of the Gary Sinise, phenomenal actor, and what he's doing right now is he started the Dan Lieutenant Dan charity, where his charity raises money in order to help injured veterans live with their conditions. So people who are permanently bound in wheelchairs, he builds houses for them based on their needs of their injuries. People who have lost limbs and things like what? Yeah. So, what?
You said for veterans?
Yeah, for veterans. Yeah. So injured veterans who have been dismembered as a course of their service and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
His organization builds home for them. And you're like that guy is a good actor, but he's not. It probably doesn't live up to the hype of what most people think of, an actor. And like when you meet him in real life or you see him in interviews, or whatever, it's a pretty down to earth guy. Doesn't
just
he's been in. Yeah, he's not full of himself and all that sort of thing. So when you see, okay, he's doing more and above and beyond what most people would do in his position, you're like, okay, he's not God mode, can do no wrong sort of thing. So, but he's not, but he is trying to live up to that hype. He's doing his best to try to be the best version of himself, at least from what I can tell, based on the interviews and things that he's done outside of the spotlight.
Yeah, I mean, that's most people should be trying to do that.
Yeah, but some celebrities don't do that. Some celebrities try to use their celebrity status. Like, this is what Brie Larson and what she's been doing recently. She won an Oscar or something like that, and she is now full of herself and thinks that it's her job as a celebrity and an actor to change how people think and view, change how people view the world. And that's where you start to see these things. So I will say it wasn't that bad in the Captain Marvel movie, but if based on her other directorial debut, The Unicorn Store.
I don't know. I just heard that was a stupid movie. She's a millennial that doesn't want to get a job.
Yeah, but she thought that was an excellent movie and a good idea, and they're going to give her they're giving her directorial authority over a Marvel movie, and you're like, but that's what she did last time. Somebody let her be in charge.
So Captain Marvel came out, and they kind of just squeezed that in the middle. They had to shoehorn her in because she's supposed to pick up the mantle. People need to know who she is.
Yeah.
But the movie, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't memorable. Like Iron Man 1, I've seen that countless times because it's just awesome. It just builds up the whole character of Tony Stark and who he is, how smart he is, and what he had to overcome, why he's got a massive hole in his chest. That's a great movie. I thought Thor Ragnarok was great because it it was just kind of out of this world. It just blew the MCU.
Yeah.
All confined on Earth. It went funny. It went action. It went massive Hulk versus Thor, which is what everybody was clamoring for. It fulfilled a lot of what people wanted to see in an MCU. Her movie, nobody knew what to expect, and by the end, it was basically like a god character that was there for no reason other than just to be there.
So you did see it then, right?
What?
Yeah, so you saw the Captain Marvel, right? You saw.
Yeah. So I did kind of watch it, but it's barely above like Thor 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And probably right along the same lines. It's kind of, you could go without seeing it and miss zero in the MCU. It's just there to introduce a character, but you don't know who she is because the entire movie she's got amnesia. You don't know what her motivations are because that is never explained. You don't know zero.
Yeah.
They don't even build on Nick Fury's character other than the way he lost his eye, and that kind of irritated me.
Yeah.
And all the other movies, Nick Fury's a badass.
Yeah, and that one.
If anybody's watching this, I don't want to spoil stuff, but they do explain how he lost his eye, and it's not what I would have expected or thought quantified into his character. It's not something that I ever thought it should even matter.
So my main complaint is that supposedly she's the strongest hero in the Marvel MCU, and I'm like, but she's getting her powers. I don't want to give a spoiler, but she's getting them from a source that is less powerful than existing superheroes in the Marvel universe.
She got it from one of the Infinity Stones.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how is she the most powerful? Because Thor has a hammer, just his hammer could crush those.
Yeah,
that's the whole purpose of his new hammer.
Yeah, it's an Infinity Stone, which is powerful, but it's like, wait, but Vision gets his powers from an Infinity Stone in his head. That's stronger than someone who got a temporary blast from something. It wasn't even the full Infinity Stone. It was the Tesseract.
The Avengers went up against a guy who had all the Infinity Stones and almost had them.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, but I'm the strongest one. I'm like, no.
But, and that's the point. Is that was only one of the powers, right? The Tesseract. Which what stone is that?
That's the space. So that's the thing I wasn't quite getting.
What were her powers? How did she get any of that?
From space? I don't know.
In space, she can shoot laser beam things out of her hands, smash through anything, glow with this aura. She doesn't even need her mask at the end of the movie.
What does that have to do with teleportation?
She can fly at light speed. How? What does it have to do with?
It doesn't. It's the source of her powers doesn't make sense.
Superman in woman form.
Yeah, because Vision's power comes from the Mind Stone. So a lot of his powers reflect off of that. Her powers come from the Space Stone.
Yeah, because Vision
powers don't reflect that at all.
Vision isn't incredibly strong. He's not He's not the Hulk. He doesn't have those kind of powers. He'll just pop out of nowhere. Basically, can focus his thoughts and shoot out a beam, and I guess he has the ability to.
So telepathy also got he can become like a
ethereal.
Yeah, ethereal. Yeah, that's incorporeal would be another way. Yeah, so things can pass through him, but you're like, okay, I could see that
using his mind to try and manipulate his matter.
Those are things that you could see falling within the realm of the Mind Stone. The Tesseract and the Space Stone are all about transporting people to other places. Like, you can go anywhere you want. It doesn't give you more power. It doesn't give you... I guess there's the Red Skull and all of them were using the Tesseract as a power source.
Stones has energy with it, so you do get stronger. I think that's a bit premise because Vision is stronger than your average person.
Yeah.
However, the Purple Stone, I think, is the Stone of Power.
Yeah.
And that's what just makes Thanos stronger than, basically able to smash the Hulk down. Without that stone, he wouldn't have stood a chance.
Yeah.
So that's the one that...
But it was a thing where Vision had the stone directly on him, whereas Captain Marvel just got exposure temporarily to the Tesseract. Like, not even the Space Stone, just the Tesseract.
And I can even accept that. if her powers were a bit more limited and she had some display of an ability and was able to fight off something, but to fight off an entire armada, basically, the big bad
just,
guy,
like without any kind of no, she just
scared him away. What?
Yeah.
Why?
It's
doesn't fit what has been set in the rest of the universe. It's an out of place pawn that's just and doesn't fit the entire universe off.
Yeah, and based on that movie, and she was in Endgame, although I will say she wasn't a like they thankfully left the majority of the movie in the hand of the original Avengers cast. She didn't come through and take over everything in the Avengers Endgame. So I just want
what I've read, there was a lot of reshoots after Captain Marvel because they saw the lashback, and so they actually decreased her screen time.
Yeah, so that's
they're hoping to build it up later, but they didn't want to jeopardize this.
Because they did want to pass it off, and I think the Endgame did a decent job of passing it off. I think she's going to destroy the franchise because of her personality, but also, but if things keep continuing at the rate they're going with her character, she's going to go through the next couple of movies without a scratch. That's.
Well, I mean, she did the first. She flew through a spaceship without a scratch. Like didn't even use her powers.
It is my prediction that the next movie we see Captain Marvel in, she's just going to plow through whatever obstacles without having to overcome anything. That seems to be her character arc. Is stuff comes in front of me, I punch through it, and then yay! And so like other people will come through and they'll be like all bloody and scarred, and maybe have an arm in a cast, and she'll be like, "Oh, I'm perfectly fine because I'm Captain Marvel." Not a scratch on me.
Work is in parody, One Punch Man, because it is making fun of that genre, that type of hero. He is that hero, and he's bored to hell with it because where does he go from there? There's no reason for him to even be around. There's nothing to do.
But One Punch Man, he's a more likable character because he doesn't
even fully comprehend his powers. He just he's bored, but he is so OP that that's the reason he's bored. It's a parody of that whole idea.
Yeah, it's a parody of the overpowered hero. It works great.
But when they try to take themselves serious,
that's the thing is they take Captain Marvel seriously, and she takes it too seriously.
Lost an eye. Iron Man got stabbed through by Thanos. He had a hole in his chest. Captain America got beat to crap. He almost died in a nuclear explosion in the second one, the Winter Soldier. His best friend came back to life and had his arm basically replaced, ripped off. And I mean, everybody's gone through hell to build their character.
Captain Marvel has experienced no hell, has never had to climb out from rock bottom, has never, she just keeps escalating in power and keeps going up and up and up and never goes down. Like that's.
I mean, just from a writing perspective, nobody cares about that.
That's boring.
That is not relatable. People like to see an overcome, an underdog story, or even if it's not really an underdog, at least some sort of adversary or situation that.
Yeah, because we talked about this previously a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the Captain Marvel the first time, but that is going to, based on interviews and based on what people are reporting about the upcoming lineup of MCU projected movies, that is going to be the majority of the movies coming out in the future. It's going to be along the lines of the Captain Marvel movie. So
at what point do you think they're a tax cut or count it as a loss because that's now the new category to say they can claim it as a loss as going woke?
Yeah, go woke, get broke. I don't know. Because it's so here's a trend. So outside of Disney related stuff with Star Wars and now the MCU headed that path. We also see Netflix, Gillette. So Gillette, after their Go Woke ad, is now the worst performing item on Procter & Gamble's when they give out their profit statements.
Yeah, that's not even a surprise. The next
Gillette profits tanked after that. Mortal Kombat 11 is getting so much backlash right now because they went the woke path with their story. Apparently, the combat and all that stuff is pretty good, but all of their characters and all the story that they usually have, it's being SJW'd.
Yeah, and I heard the outfits, like they basically
that's one of the big controversies.
Around all shirtless and whatever, but they decided to undersexualize the female characters.
Yep.
And it's not that was the big draw to the game, anyways.
So according to the character artist for Mortal Kombat 11, it doesn't make sense for women to run around in scantily clad armor or scantily clad clothing when they're fighting for their life. And so there's a lot of women wearing full armor, like, you know, kind of like Johanna from Diablo, or I'm trying to think of another reference, but yeah.
Like Soul Calibur.
Soul Calibur, the lady all in armor, and like a lot of their character models are kind of like that, where they're wearing full
genre, but
full plate, or they're fully or like even their ninja ladies who are usually showing lots of cleavage and big boobs are now basically wearing hijabs. But there's male characters with fully exposed torsos, like not wearing a shirt at all.
It just has some exercise, like stretchy pants. That's it.
And I was like
that.
Yeah. So there's characters that are like, and that's the people are comparing. They're like, wait a minute, if that was your design, why did the guys not care? The guys are just like, yeah, we'll just wear whatever it feels cool.
I mean, I guess they've never watched an MMA fight because they only wear a pair of shorts. And in the women's division, it's a pair of shorts and a sports bra, and that's it.
Yeah.
They must have seen one ever.
Yeah. No, well, they also, it's like they're separating from what made the entire franchise is built on the idea of not being politically correct. Doing like, oh, okay,
yeah,
people don't like blood and gore. We'll take blood and gore to the extremes. People don't like over-sexualized stuff. All right, let's make everything over-sexed. Let's make it's a parody. It goes to those extremes. It pushes those boundaries. That's the entire appeal of the game.
So, I mean, that's the weird thing, right? So, I remember when the first Mortal Kombat came out. I remember the commercials, the music, and the hype about it, and the controversy in Mortal Kombat 2 and 3. I've been there since it first launched. I used to play in the arcades. I remember, Sonya, sure, she's kind of hot. Nobody played the game because they thought she was hot.
No.
They played the game because they want to rip somebody's head off. They played the game because there was blood. You could throw someone down in a spike pit. The over-sexualization is kind of a nice eye candy that most people, it slips their mind. They don't even care. It's just there. It's just the look of the character.
And actually, for the most part, it went over, almost unnoticed. It's kind of like it's the icing on top of the cake. People didn't really notice it until, like, wait a minute, why are all these women like, why are they all kind of butch? Why are they all wearing, like, that's not their usual outfits for these characters? Why the massive change? And then they started looking into it. Nobody noticed these things until somebody made these drastic changes. But yeah, that already they're seeing declines in sales. They're not going to meet expected projections for that series. Supposedly, this most recent game is one of the better mechanic wise when it comes to Mortal Kombat's fighting, but it's not gonna meet expectations because there's already people who are saying, meh, pass, I'm done, not interested.
I mean, that's pretty messed up. So if this is one of the better mechanic wise, like maybe the combos or it moves very fluid.
Well,
it's smooth.
Yeah, that's been the thing with Mortal Kombat.
An entire dev team that went into the core engine of that went to the graphics, that went to the gameplay, the controls to make sure it felt like that. And then they decided to go woke and they're all screwed.
Yeah.
How many of those guys are going to get laid off because someone up higher decided?
Yeah, and that's that's something similar when it comes to Battlefield, because Battlefield, the more recent one, like meticulous scrutiny and detail to represent World War I, and then they go and throw in, like, for some reason, was it like so it was a black disabled lady, or she had like mechanical parts or something?
Yeah. It was like a one-armed lady. She had this like weird cyborg arm,
and it's like
prosthetic thing, but
it was World War I, right? And you're like,
yeah,
why was that? Like, the rest of the game is like the entire purpose is to mimic World War I, and you go and throw that, and then people are like, done. All the work to make it historically accurate is undone by somebody just trying to. Like,
If they wanted to go SJW with that, they could even made the main hero a black guy, and I don't think anybody would have cared because there were some black soldiers that fought in them.
Yeah, and it would have been like, okay, this is something that is historically accurate. If this is a story that wasn't quite told by other games, okay, they could have done that. But it's like, why is there a black lady with a cyborg arm in World War I?
Line, and there's no prosthetics like that, and there's like Terminator lady blowing everything up.
Because if you're gonna go that route, why bother making it historically accurate World War I? Why not just go balls to the wall and make it like overhyped, like
Borderlands or something? Just a shooter.
Yeah, make it over the top. It's like, yeah, it's World War I, but with this huge crazy twist of like, yeah, what if time machine or something like futuristic stuff? Or
they're trying to build on a platform, but then they want to preach to you about how unwoke you are, or how much you're a misogynist or a sexist or whatever. And they're trying to throw this stuff on you and preach to you about how you need to become aware and feel bad about it, even though there's no resolution. If you're a white man, there is no fix for it. Just constantly feel bad for being a white man.
Well,
constantly feel bad for being a Christian. Constantly feel bad for being a, whatever. Just name something that they feel is an oppressive group. This sounds like you got a group of kids in a room, or kindergartners, and the teacher's only paying attention to the whiny kid in the corner, and the rest of the class is standing around like, what do we do?
Yeah. And so while I do complain that they seem to take existing franchises that are already that already exist, things that people already like and enjoy, and then infuse them with their doctrine, and like, well, why don't they ever do stuff on their own? I'm like, well, thinking about it, whenever they do stuff on their own to promote their SJW stuff, it doesn't go anywhere.
No, because nobody
cares. So the only way that they can get any kind of momentum with their ideology is to infuse it with stuff that already has a fan base. But it always ruins the franchise that they inject their stuff with.
It's just ludicrous because, yeah, I've seen movies where a woman's walking down the street and all the construction workers talk and start whistling and, hey, babe. I've never seen that in real life. I've seen old cartoons where the wolf's sitting at the table and he's honking because there's a girl singing and dancing on the stage, and he's banging his head on the table and his eyeballs are popping out. I've never seen anybody act like that in real life. I've met a few people that I think could be racist, but the vast majority of people I meet, nobody cares.
Yeah,
this stuff they're preaching about is like an imaginary fairy tale from 50 years ago, and I don't even know if it was that bad 50 years ago. There's no guys walking around with wife beaters and cigars in their mouth just slapping women and saying, this is what I think of women. There's nobody like that. Who are they preaching to about what?
I don't know.
Where did they get these stories from? That's what's irritating most people, is getting preached to about something that doesn't exist. Feeling white guilt for all this slavery stuff. I'm like, I understand. There's a horrible thing with Black history, but slavery hasn't been a thing for 150 years, 100 years
or more.
War end 1860 something, 64. Hasn't been a thing since then. Yeah. We've had the civil rights movement. That's now over half a century.
Yep.
Well over a generation, 2 generations. That was amended. Black culture is part of regular culture, is part of U.S. culture. Nobody has an issue if you're Black. Nobody has an issue if you're Indian or Native American or Mexican or whatever ethnicity. Nobody cares. It's when you're getting preached to. Well, as far as the South Americans, it's superior legally. A lot of people do have issues with illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
So I'll clarify that. But as far as ethnicity, nobody cares. It hasn't been a thing for 2 decades.
Yeah.
Why the resurgence of this nonsense? And the more they preach, the more it just tends to piss people off and separate groups of people.
Yep.
It's making things worse.
And like I was saying earlier, it's like people are trying to go to these franchises. They go to, Mortal Kombat. They go to these existing properties to escape the world as it is. And yet,
yeah,
for some reason, these people are trying to like, oh, by the way, you're here to watch Avengers and you're here to watch superheroes beat up on aliens. So, but remember this thing, like, oh, that politics that they were talking about it, at your lunch break. Let's bring that and inject it into your movie experience, so you can't escape it even in your escapism. That's the thing is like, yeah, Mortal Kombat. By the way, you're here to watch people beat the crap out of each other until they're bloody and mutilated. But let's throw in this SJW of Jax when he wins the Mortal Kombat tournament,
doing it,
going back in time to make sure that slavery never happened in the first place. Yeah, okay, because that's what I want from my escapism is to have it.
That's in the game?
Yeah, that's his ending.
Oh. That's worse than I thought.
Yeah, it's like that. It's not just the outfits and all. No, it's infused entirely into the story.
It's the stupidest thing I ever heard. The United States didn't invent slavery. They didn't even start slavery. They didn't even go get anybody from Africa. That was other Africans and Middle Easterns. Slavery has been around since the beginning of humanity. One tribe conquering another and enslaving them. It's not a new thing. It's not a good thing. But why is everyone trying to isolate that to like, well, the United States invented it and was the only slaveholders ever in the world?
Yeah, and just ignore the slavery that currently exists in certain African countries today. No.
2012. That's not even a couple years ago. How did everyone forget that?
Mm.
I mean, that's like the worst of it. Just enslaving all these poor kids to build his child army with a bunch of machine guns. What?
That's okay because a white guy didn't do it. So,
man, I mean, a clown world meme is getting beat to death. But what else?
Yeah.
To say?
All right. So I think we've hammered this point home to death. Is they can't exist on their own, so they have to incorporate their ideology into things that we like and enjoy and ruin those things that we like and enjoy. It's they are an infection, and that's why they called feminism cancer. And I would say SJWs are like cancer 2.0.
It's cancer steroids. You inject it just to speed up the cancer.
All right, so I'm trying to end these with I guess a feel-good story, although I don't know if this quite fits. I think this might be a little more political than I intended. I was trying to find something but this is the only thing that I could find that was kind of like, oh, that's I was hoping to find something a little more inspirational, but this is the story that I came up with. So, it makes me laugh and makes me feel good. So I'm linking it in the chat right now. Granted, the link that I sent you is from Fox. That's not because this is in more than one place. Fox was just the first one that showed up when I Google searched it. So whatever, you can find, if you don't like Fox News, go look it up on a different website. But yeah, so it's a coffee shop that was run by two lesbians, and they were charging a voluntary 18% man tax, and they're out of business.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is the owners were trying to claim that they didn't go bankrupt and they don't owe any money. They just didn't want to. We just didn't want to own a cafe anymore. Right. So it's like, this is the embodiment of the go woke and go broke, but this is just the whole story about this particular cafe, and because this was touted by SJWs, is like, oh, we need more businesses like this. I'm like, yeah, we need more businesses to go out of business because they're dumb. So, and some of the comments about this place and it failing, so there was the ladies who own this have posted on Facebook and stuff like that, and people have been replying to it. And one of the people replying to it was saying, I identified as a woman, but they still charged me 18% because they said I looked like a man.
Well, there was a legitimate review, so I did hear about this. There was a guy who does restaurant reviews. He travels for business, and someone recommended he go in. So I guess he got some gnocchi, like some pasta, something or another, and a glass of wine. And he said while he was sitting there, it was the worst restaurant experience of his life because he ate it and the pasta was a little undercooked and really grainy. So he brought it up with the waitress. She started cussing at him and told him to get the hell out, that his time's not welcome there. And he's like, what? He said it was the worst experience ever. And so he posted it, I think, on Yelp. He's got like 300 or 400 different restaurant reviews, gets pretty decent. Yeah. So he's not like some guy that just went in there to bash them.
No, it's
what he does while he's traveling around, and he said he's never been in a restaurant like that ever. He didn't like the gnocchi, and they like cussed at him and kicked him out. He said the only enjoyable part was the wine.
That's because they didn't make it; they just bought it and resold it.
But what kind of staff is that? What kind of
I don't know. Is
that?
It is a failing business model. I am surprised it lasted 2 years. It's like the joke that won't stop.
Man.
So I just thought that was funny because it's not so much just that it failed because it's got a terrible business plan. And apparently it was a terrible restaurant, and it's not just from what you were saying about the Yelp guy. No, that's just been
China cookies.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was also in not that guy's review, but somebody else. In their little display cabinet, they have vagina cookies.
Yeah.
So it was a very woke cafe.
Yeah. So it wasn't just the fact that it was a bad business model and just a bad business all around, but it was also, it's really funny if you read what these ladies were trying to defend their restaurant and how they like, oh no, we ran everything well. We just just the level of we could have kept this going for forever. We just chose not to, which is so bad. All right, and
yeah, it's funny.
Oh, I guess this kind of ties into, I guess, something a little more uplifting. So I guess I will end at that. So one of the people who reporting on this or whatever, who was talking about, made a video, is Barbara for you to see. I don't know. I've talked about her a lot on this channel. I'm a huge fan of her and her work. But so I guess this is a little more inspirational regarding this, and hadn't occurred to me before the last couple of seconds here, because she she's from Slovenia, and she came here originally to the U.S. on a student visa, and then her visa was about to expire, and she had filed for a different type of visa that she could come back to the United States and actually work in the U.S., and her student visa didn't quite cover that. So in the meantime, she had to move back to Slovenia, and she was there for a little over a year, and her visa was finally approved. She's back in the U.S., and she is working in the industry that she set out to work in. She is now working on various movie projects and on web, what is called web series. It's video series on the web. I don't know if there's a web series is the only thing that comes to mind, but yeah, video web series where she's getting paid as an actress in these for these projects. And like that's exactly the American dream. Is you come over here, you've got an idea of what you want to do when you get here, and you do everything that you can to make that possible. And she could have stayed in the US and overstayed the visa because she had work lined up, and odds are no one would have noticed because she was in the process of getting her visa reapproved. But there was probably going to be a 6-month to 8-month gap where she wasn't actually covered under a working visa. She did the right thing, went back, and only came back to the US once that visa was approved, and now she's living the American dream of doing what she wanted to do. That's like, so that, I guess that's the uplifting story. Like, yeah, it's nice to hear that when somebody has a vision of what they want to do and they actually can come to the US and fulfill that dream. And as long as they do it the right way, we want more like that. That's the embodiment of the American spirit. Even though she wasn't born in America, she's being everything that we want Americans to be. It's not that, and that ties into it's not that we don't want immigrants here, is we want immigrants that are like that are going to provide something to society, that
going to follow the rules.
Yeah, follow the rules, and that people want in this country. Because like the places that have hired her for different gigs and acting gigs, they wanted her in the US so shoot these the sections of film that she's involved in. And so some of the projects she was on and she got hired for or cast for were so I guess I don't know if the dedicated is the right word, but they worked their schedule around hers, knowing that she couldn't come back into the US. So they shot everything else that they could without her and waited for her to come back so that way they could shoot, because they could have just recast the part, but they were like, no, this person, we want her in our films. We want her in our web series. She's the person that for this character. Like that's the kind of thing is like they were willing to like, okay, we'll wait. We'll make this work. We're willing to work around that schedule because this is the kind of person we want. How many businesses are kind of like, this is the immigrant we want for our business? Like, oh, we won't take anybody else. We want like, no, most of the people who are coming over here illegally, they're a dime a dozen. It's not like we can't work without, a typical Mexican name here. Like, oh, we can't do it without him. It's like, no, they're replaceable, expendable. Those are, like those are not the kind of immigrants that America is looking for. Is the replaceable, expendable. We've got enough replaceable, expendable people in the U.S. as it is. We're looking for people who go above and beyond, the people who stand out in the crowd, people who are like, yeah, we want the best of what other countries have to present. That's what America needs, not people that are unfortunately, that's disposable is the word that comes to mind, but that's because like replaceable is probably a more apt word. Replaceable. There's so many people in the U.S. that are replaceable in their positions and their job, and they act like they're something special and significant. And I'm like, no, you're easily replaceable by some kid who just graduated from high school. Why do you think you deserve more? Or why? And yet all these people are like, oh, they're, nobody else would do these jobs. I'm like, no, there's plenty of people who would do those jobs. Those are replaceable jobs. That's unfortunately the case. We don't need more people coming in the United States illegally to do replaceable jobs. And that's, anyway, that's meant to be a little more uplifting, hearing a story of somebody who's doing it right, that actually everything worked out for them and they're now living the dream. That's essentially what I wanted to focus on, and got a little sidetracked there. Sorry, but that's where I want to end it. I don't know if anybody else is like, hey, that's a feel-good story, but it makes me feel good because that's somebody I've been rooting for years, and I'm like, yes, finally, it's nice to hear that they accomplished, they overcame, they succeeded where, I was unsuccessful in succeeding in my dreams, but at least this person that I was like, yeah, this is a good one. She's gonna go places, and then, well, she's going places. All right, I don't think I have anything else. You want to? We'll wrap this up.
Well, I guess last comment, and then more related to the main topic at hand with the Marvel movies. Maybe it's a good thing that they're kind of messing it all up, because it's been 10 years. If this is kind of the culmination of the last 10 years, they can go do whatever else and break it. I'm probably not going to be interested afterwards. So, good time to kill it off. Who knows? But good to hear that at least that movie kind of lives up to the hype.
Yeah. So I think it's on a downward path, but it didn't quite hit there with this. I think the downward path is happening pretty much almost immediately after this. We might get I think Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is probably going to be good, but everything else that they've got lined up sounds like it's going to be terrible.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see if it comes back, or if it's
what they've been starting with and what they wanted to end with. So at least we got that package done.
Oh, that's the other thing, is the Russo brothers are leaving the MCU. This is their last MCU movie. So those are the guys behind.
MCU's done.
Yeah. That they were behind a lot of the best of the Marvel movies.
Yeah, Civil War, Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only other awesome ones, Jon Favreau did the Iron Man first one, so I did like that a lot. And Thor Ragnarok, I can't remember that guy's name.
Taika Waititi.
Yeah. I like that. He injected comedy in the right spots. That movie it definitely benefited from it.
Yeah.
Man, it's too bad about the Russo brothers, because their movies have been awesome in the MCU. Yeah. They've carried the story.
Okay, not to extend the stream too much longer, but it seems like they saw the writing on the walls. I don't know how like SJW the Russo brothers are, because so they've said some things that are kind of like that,
Some funky
but
and everyone's talking to him like he's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's no longer Kevin Feige. It's somebody else.
Yeah.
Because he's been mapping this out and has done a fantastic job until Captain Marvel. And he is like a staunch supporter of Brie Larson, everything she says, the Captain Marvel character, and everyone else is like, are you serious, man?
Yeah.
Really?
So it seemed like the Russo brothers were feeling like they were getting shoehorned into the way, like
they're going to start being dictated how to run their movies rather than them movies. And I could see why back out.
Yeah, so they're like, we're done. Endgame is our we're this is our last contribution. We're just gonna kind of walk out while we're still ahead.
Watch any of the press release or press dockets where the cast has been going around,
having
interactions, and Brie Larson's been in some of those. You can see that on all their faces too. They're a bit. There's.
Which is kind of funny because some of them are pretty woke, and yet even Brie Larson is still too woke for even the woke people that are members of the Avengers cast.
Yeah, so they see it too.
They're like, you know what? I'm a little preachy and stuff, but I think she's gone way. She's yeah. She even annoys me. So that's pretty okay.
Yep.
All right.
Gonna bail. But
so thanks for anybody who joined us, and see you next Tuesday.